Pokémon Uranium, Pokémon Radical Red, Pokémon Phoenix Rising, Pokémon Emerald Kaizo. What do these all have in common? Well, they are all fan-made games and ROM hacks that are made in order to enjoy and spread the love of Pokemon. Pokemon fans from all corners of the globe have gathered to create these custom Pokemon games that allow for a breath of fresh air as opposed to their regular mainline counterparts. Fan games and ROM hacks have quickly become a staple in the Pokemon community, as several fans, including myself, prefer these games over the originals. Well, why is that? Why is it that games like Pokemon Vega, Pokemon Infinite Fusions, Pokemon Reborn, and Pokemon Snakewood are preferred as opposed to the regular mainline Pokemon games? After all, these games have proven to work for almost 30 years now. So today, let me show you just a few ways how Pokemon ROM hacks and fan games are better than the originals. Pokemon ROM hacks and fan games often take the relatively easy gameplay of the traditional Pokemon games and ramps up the difficulty in different ways. Some of these ways include elevated trainer AI. This means that trainers are no longer pushovers. They're equipped with smarter AI that makes them more challenging opponents. This means they make optimal move choices based on type advantages, stat boosts, and status effects. This encourages the use of setting up entry hazards, switching Pokemon to exploit weaknesses, and predicting the player's moves. Trainers utilize the most competitive level up movesets of each Pokemon, as well as having them EV and IV trained to perfection. This is similar to those seen in competitive Pokemon. Another way they ramp up the difficulty is in the form of high-level Pokemon. This elevated level scaling applies not only to trainers' Pokemon, but also to wild encounters and gym leaders as well. As a result of this, players face tougher battles right from the beginning, requiring them to strategize and train their Pokemon more effectively. Boss battles such as gym leaders, Elite Four members, and admin battles have formidable teams with Pokemon at higher levels, posing a significant challenge to all players. Pokemon in these games also include some expansion in terms of their evolutions, move pools, typings, or abilities. This provides Pokemon with a more diverse moveset, including powerful moves that they don't typically learn in other games. With the access of hidden abilities and different move combinations, it can catch some players off guard and force them to change up their strategy, allowing for a fun but challenging game. In many ROM hacks and fan-made games, resources such as healing items, money, and experience points are limited or harder to come by. This means that players must manage their resources carefully, rationing healing items and wisely spending money on essential items like Pokeballs and status healers. Grinding for experience points becomes much more challenging, requiring players to strategize and plan their training sessions to maximize efficiency. Many ROM hacks and fan games introduce changes to game mechanics that increase the difficulty level. These changes in mechanics can include a modified catch rate, tweaked type matchups, or even sometimes stat and move calculations. This requires all players to relearn familiar battle strategies and adapt to new mechanics. Several of these ROM hacks and fan games introduce intricate puzzles and challenges that go beyond what is found in normal Pokemon games. These puzzles include optional areas and side quests that reward exploration and puzzle-solving skills, providing an additional challenge for players seeking a complete experience. Overall, through a combination of elevated trainer AI, higher level Pokemon, expanded move pools, limited resources, altered game mechanics, and complex puzzles, Pokemon ROM hacks and fan games transform the relatively easy gameplay of traditional Pokemon into a challenging but rewarding experience. These changes force players to think strategically, plan ahead, and adapt to new challenges, making for a more engaging and satisfying gameplay experience. Unlike the official games, which generally follows a tried and true formula of becoming a Pokemon champion while taking down a villainous team, fan games and ROM hacks offer diverse themes, intricate plots, and deeper character development. One of the most common themes of these fan-made games includes the inclusion of a darker theme as well as a more mature storyline. Some notable examples of these darker themes include the storyline of Pokémon Reborn. Set in the dystopian Reborn City, the game tackles themes of corruption, pollution, and societal decay. Players navigate through morally complex scenarios, facing choices that impact the story's outcome. The darker tone and challenging gameplay make it a standout among fan games. Another game that shares this sort of dark and more mature storyline is that of Pokémon Insurgence. This game introduces a world where cults and dark organizations wield significant power. The plot explores themes of cult worship, sacrifices, and the struggle of the protagonist against powerful groups. The narrative complexity and more mature themes provide a stark contrast to the more straightforward mainline Pokémon games. In addition to those dark themes and more mature narratives, alternate universes and what-if scenarios are introduced, questioning Pokémon as a whole. Pokémon Ash Gray is based on the Pokémon anime. This game allows players to experience Ash Ketchum's journey from the beginning. The storyline follows the anime closely, including iconic moments and battles, offering fans a nostalgic trip through their favorite episodes. A game that explores into the alternate dimension storyline is that of Pokémon Outlaw. In this hack, the player is presented with an alternative and more cynical version of the Kanto region, where the protagonist starts as a homeless orphan. The story involves crime, survival, and a rougher take on the traditional Pokémon journey, providing a fresh perspective on this well-known setting. Pokémon Uranium is a game that tackles some deep lore, as it's set in the Tandor region, where the game features a unique storyline revolving around nuclear energy and its consequences. In this game, the protagonist must deal with the fallout of a nuclear waste incident, as well as some deep, important family matters. This just adds a layer of environmental and ethical considerations to the narrative. Pokémon Phoenix Rising is a very narrative-driven game, with an emphasis on the story and character development. The plot involves ancient legends in a war-torn region, requiring players to make decisions that shape the course of the story. Pokémon Rejuvenation is a game where the character has a very detailed backstory and personal motivations that intertwine with the main plot. The game dives into the character's past and their relationships, making the world feel more alive and the stakes more personal. Pokémon Full Moon is also a game with a very deep narrative where the characters grow and change over time. The protagonists and their companions face personal trials, and their character development is integral to the unfolding of the story. Pokémon Desolation is known for its branching storyline. This game allows players to make choices that significantly affect the plot and the character relationships. These different decisions can lead to multiple endings, encouraging players to think carefully about their actions and their consequences. While the previously mentioned Ash Gray is based off the original Pokemon anime, Pokemon Adventures Red chapter is inspired by the Pokemon Adventures manga. And the game is divided into different chapters, each focusing on a different character and their journey. This chapter-based structure allows for a more focused and detailed narrative of exploration. The unique storylines in Pokemon fan games and ROM hacks showcase the creativity and passion of the fan community. By exploring darker themes, complex character development, and innovative storytelling mechanics, these games offer major plot differences than that of the regular games. They provide fans with fresh narratives that keep the Pokemon universe exciting and dynamic, demonstrating the endless possibilities within the franchise. Throughout these different fan creations, the Pokemon world just continues to evolve, engaging players with new adventures and deeper stories. These new and unique creations not only breathe life into familiar gameplay mechanics, but also have a profound impact on the overall difficulty and challenge of the gaming experience. With the addition of these new and custom Pokemon, new types, abilities, and stat distributions not found in the original games are added to this ever-growing franchise. Players must adapt their strategies to counter these unfamiliar monsters, typings, and abilities. This makes Pokemon battles much more unpredictable and challenging. Specialized teams with these new and unique type combinations, move pools, and abilities make it so that each and every trainer stands out. Trainers may be forced to use unexpected strategies in order to challenge and win certain battles. The addition of the new and custom Pokemon offers players a fresh perspective and exciting experience, keeping the gameplay engaging and immersive. Because of this, players are encouraged to explore the game world and capture these new Pokemon. This just adds an extra layer of overall challenge and enjoyment to the gameplay experience. To sum up, Pokemon fan-made games and ROM hacks represent the epitome of creativity and innovation within the Pokemon community. By challenging conventions, exploring new narratives, and introducing fresh new gameplay mechanics, these projects continue to captivate audiences and push the boundaries of what it means to be a Pokemon trainer. So whether you're diving into a nuclear wasteland like Pokemon Uranium, or embarking on a new journey through the twisted streets of Pokemon Reborn, one thing's for sure: the world of fan-made Pokemon games is a vibrant and everlasting one, filled with endless possibilities and always pushing the boundaries of imagination.